Did you know there are different types of stocks, and the ones that we can trade through a brokerage account is just part of the stocks a company owns? In this video, I'm going to be showing you what share float and share outstanding is and the difference between those two. To explain, let's take a few steps back. When a company is incorporated, it will state the authorized share amount in its articles of incorporation. So this is the maximum amount of shares a company is legally able to issue. It doesn't mean that the company would issue all of the shares though. For example, in Costco's articles of incorporation, it states that Costco is authorized to issue a maximum of 1 billion shares. Of these 1 billion authorized shares, part of it will be kept in the issuing company's treasury as treasury stock, and the other part would have been issued to the public, and they're known as a share outstanding, which is our first term. So authorized shares equals treasury shares plus shares outstanding. By the way, insider shares are also considered part of the shares outstanding because although it's owned by the issuing company's executives, it's not owned by the issuing company itself. So share outstanding includes shares owned by insiders, by institutions like big banks, insurance companies, mutual funds, and by individual investors like you and me. The shares that are owned by insiders or paid to the issuing company's employees as compensation are called restricted shares because they cannot be freely traded on the stock market until they pass a vesting period or special guidelines set out by the SEC. The other part that isn't owned by insiders are known as the share float, which are shares that can be freely traded in the public. So share outstanding equals share float plus restricted shares. Here's a chart of Costco's share outstanding, and you can see here that throughout the years, the share number is fluctuating. There are a few situations that can cause this, and the first one is when the issuing company sells more shares, which increases its shares outstanding and decreases its treasury shares. The second scenario is when a convertible security is executed, then that will decrease the treasury share and increase the share outstanding. And lastly, the issuing company can buy back its shares, which will decrease the amount of share outstanding. When an issuing company buys back its shares, it can either keep it in treasury stock, which allows the shares to be issued out at a later date, or the issuing company can choose to retire the shares. And when a share is retired, it cannot be issued out again, and that would also decrease the amount of authorized shares for the issuing company as well. Keep in mind that at any one time and point, the share outstanding cannot exceed its authorized shares. Now, let me show you where to quickly find the numbers of shares in some of these categories. And before I do that, I made a 4-step guide on how to evaluate and find stocks that has a durable competitive advantage for long-term investing purposes. And you can find that in the description box below. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you'll be notified every time I post a new video about investing. Let's look on FinViz at Costco, so C-O-S-T. And then we'll scroll all the way down. And here we see that the share outstanding is 443.13 million with a share float of 441.99 million. So remember the equation for share float is share outstanding minus restricted shares. And part of that restricted share is insider ownership. So for Costco, there's 0.1% of insider owners. And these people have to register with the SEC before they can buy or sell their shares. Another portion of the restricted shares are shares given to employees as compensation, but it's not fully vested yet. So just note here that we cannot directly calculate share float from share outstanding just with insider ownership. Another interesting number we see here is the institutional ownership, which is 70.1%, so 70% about. And that means the majority of Costco is owned by big institutions, and only 30% is traded by individual investors like you and me. And for a majority of these large cap stocks, they're mainly owned by institutions. For more videos, check out the playlist on stock investing terminologies, as well as a playlist on stock investing for beginners.